All right, so we're live. Do you guys consent to this live stream?
Yes. I consent.
Cool. So you want to talk about the Illuminati?
I want to talk about the Illuminati. I mean, it'll go broader than that,
Okay.
but it'll be secret society related.
Okay. Cool.
So a couple questions to make sure that I kind of have you on board with where my thesis is going to go.
Okay.
All right. Have you ever been a member of any club?
Do swim clubs count? Like a
No.
no.
Swim club, that's fine. Have you ever been a member of Boy Scouts?
Beavers in Canada.
Beavers.
It's like Boy Scouts. It's like junior Boy Scouts.
How far did you go on that?
Like a year and a half.
Okay.
So it wasn't no substantial clubs.
Okay. Have you ever had any affiliation with any religion?
My mom was a Protestant minister.
Was a Protestant minister?
Yes.
In what denomination?
The United Church in Canada.
Okay. All right. Where do you stand right now as far as morality, good versus evil?
What do you mean? Like, do I think I'm good or do I think I'm evil?
No,
Or...
I would say, do you think that there is something that governs the world, a spiritual force, whatever you want to call it, that is either good or evil or has a moral code that we could accept and live by and prosper, or we could go against to our detriment?
Do you mean like a supernatural code or just one that people have that they enforce?
Well, I'd say both. So the first question, I think, do you think people have a code that they live by? I mean, certain people do, but do you have a code that you live by?
I have a code that I try to live by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that there is a code that is set, good and evil, how we live, by something outside of human scientific forces? Like a deity of some sort, whether you call it karma, whether there's something behind the scenes. Do you think that kind of thing is setting a code that we could live by?
No, I think codes are something that humans build.
Okay. Do you believe in anything external from our realm?
I do believe in a creator.
Okay. So
Yeah.
would you kind of fall in the deist sense?
Yeah, it would be. For me, it's like a cross between paganism and Taoism.
Okay.
That's as close as I can get to it. Like, I'm not a philosopher, so I'm not. I can't really explain what I believe to you in that way,
Yeah.
right? Because I just don't think about it that often.
Fair enough. So I grew up. My grandfather was a Wesleyan minister.
What's Wesleyan?
Wesleyan is from John. It came from John Wesley, who was a pastor a long time ago, early in the U.S. colonies.
Okay.
Most related now to probably the Methodist Church, if you would put it along those sides. So I grew up in the church, so kind of dabbled in Southern Baptist growing up where my family was at. When my grandfather died, I inherited a lot of stuff, a lot of books, and articles that he had written for the newspaper. And this, how old are you?
I'm 37.
Okay, I'm 36, so we're in the same. Do you remember the Satanic Panic early on, like the 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, where there were like talk, like on Donahue, remember Phil Donahue?
I grew up in Canada, so...
Oh, sorry. When did you live here?
12 years ago.
Oh, man. This might be hard. Okay, so talk show hosts were convinced that there were satanic cults everywhere.
Okay.
And that these people were sacrificing children. And so I went to a private Christian school, and I was taught about the fact when I was in the South, Atlanta, there's a place in Atlanta called 5 Points. You're familiar with the pentagram?
Yeah.
So anytime there's a 5 points, during this time, they're saying any 5 points in a city is a pentagram, and it would be a center of evil. So I was told that in Atlanta, when I was growing up, I had these like ideas. So long before we had the Twilight series, I had these ideas put in my head that there were these vampires that were living in Atlanta, was told about this club that was there that had 3 levels to it: heaven, hell, purgatory, and like hell was kind of earth, but then, well, purgatory was kind of earth, but it was kind of split level. It was a club, yeah. It was called the Masquerade. It just got closed. It's been around for years, but it had 3 levels. It called them heaven, hell, and purgatory. And I was told that in 5 points where Satanism was practiced, that in the center, where it was kind of off to the center, because it really wasn't 5 points, this place was where real life vampires would go. At the same time, Anne Rice was writing Interview with Vampire.
Okay.
The book or movie?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
So this, in the early 90s, this whole idea that these cults and this, something that was anti-God, and in this Christian school, I was like, this is all Satan. All of this stuff is manifesting in these dark recesses. So I grew up thinking that there was a good and evil, and I grew up thinking that like there were these cults that would sacrifice children. There were people that thought they were vampires that would kill people and drink all their blood. My grandfather dies. I inherit his whole collection of books and newspaper articles and clippings. So I found out a couple things about my grandfather. He was a Wesleyan minister, very conservative, and so I would put him on the light side, where I'm thinking that like in religion it's light versus dark. I'm thinking that he is on the side of light. I even read this article where he was saying satanic cults are coming into our town. He was up in Delaware. Like the idea that a satanic cult is coming to a small town in Delaware, it'd be like coming into a small town in Canada. So I read this article that he's against cults, but then I find this Masonic Bible, and the fact that he was part of the Masons, maybe the Odd Fellows, and perhaps through the Masonic ranks became, you can kind of shoot off from the Masons and go York Rite, Scottish Rite, but there's a part of it called Knights Templar, which...
That was in the movie Da Vinci Code, right?
Yeah, so if you're Da Vinci Code, all that stuff. But also what the people called themselves during the Crusades. So it's an acting out of those things. So I get interested in this, and I'm living in Birmingham, Alabama at the time, and I find the local Masonic Lodge, and I still think, I was in a Baptist church at the time, and they thought that the Masons were a cult. So I went in to ask some questions. They're like, well, all you need to do is fill out an agreement and come on in, like fill out an application. We'll interview, we'll send people to your house, we'll interview some of your family, like you can join. At that time, I just gotten a job, moved to Atlanta, so I wasn't able to join there.
Because nobody knew you.
Yeah, you have to be local.
Yeah.
So I started working for a Methodist church in Atlanta, playing music and teaching high schoolers. And I mentioned just briefly in passing that I was looking at becoming a Mason, but I missed. So I'm in the church one day, and this guy walks up to me with a packet of papers, and he hands them to me, and he says, hey, someone told me that you were interested in becoming a Mason.
Wow.
Here's all the information that I found. He said I was a Mason, and I left. And I think it's completely against everything that we believe in the Christian church. And if you ever tell anybody I gave this to you, I will deny it to my death. But I think you should read everything that's involved before you join. And then he just left. And I'd never seen that guy before. I mean, it was a church of like 300 people or something like that. So it's like, it wasn't odd that I would have never seen this guy before. And he was a random guy. It was a very odd situation that somebody would just come in and like hand me this pamphlet of papers. The pamphlet of papers, like anything about the Masons, you could download online. So that's basically what this guy did. He went online, downloaded all this stuff, every ritual, first degree, second degree, third degree, and then up into York Rite and Scottish Rite. Everything that they use, the symbolism, the rituals, the oaths that you made, everything. So I started reading it, but I became more intrigued about it.
So it had the reverse effect.
It had the exact opposite effect. In the same way, if a parent told a kid, like, you can't do this, like, you immediately do whatever you. So, ended up, that job ended, it was a long term, but I ended up back in Birmingham, filled out the application for this Masonic Lodge, and joined. I won't go through all the things about joining, but here's what I've learned about the groups. The Masons are the oldest fraternity that there is. They are connected to a lot of other groups that came up. Every single fraternity or sorority that ever came was started by a Mason. Even sororities were started by Masons, or the female offshoot of that, the Eastern Star. So every society that's kind of decided that they wanted to get in, Skull and Bones and Yale, all of these people started from the Masons. Bohemian Grove are Masons. In Bohemian Grove, where we're up in San Francisco. So the headquarters of Bohemian Grove is right downtown, but they meet, all of these groups meet. So this is all kind of the basis of the Illuminati. The Illuminati is a blanket term that any of us use for a group that's controlling major issues right now. So we like to throw out terms like George Soros is doing this, the Illuminati is doing this, whoever it is. But there are certain groups, the Club of Rome, Council of Foreign Relations, to some extent, parts of the UN, the White Helmets. There are these groups that are in charge of global change that I would refer to as the Illuminati. So just in the sense of when somebody's saying the Illuminati is behind something, it's not necessarily people that are worshiping Satan, like I grew up thinking good versus evil.
It's like saying the Force is behind something.
The Force is behind something. There are people, it's like saying the 1%ers are behind something.
Yeah.
However, what I've recently discovered is that there is a root of these thoughts that is good versus evil. They're all part of a Luciferian branch. And the Luciferian branch believes all of these groups see the world in a way where
all groups including
all of these, there are all these types of groups, yes. People that believe that you can get power through certain, like people that are looking for power and looking for symbolism. And I'm going to go into the Philosopher's Stone in a second. But the idea, Lucifer, who we label as Satan, Lucifer just means light bearer. Obviously, loose, light, just means light bearer. And you remember the story of man, Prometheus, being brought fire from the gods. And because of that, it was like that was the metaphor of education, science, everything being given from the gods to man. Well, there is a narrative that in this idea of just good and evil, of God and Satan, that maybe Satan isn't this adversary of God, but rather a partner of humanity. He saw that humanity could be more than what it was, and he gave part of what he had in the heavenly realm to humans. So when the Satan worshipers that I heard about in Atlanta were worshiping Satan, they weren't worshiping an anti-God. What they believed is that as humans, and this is why Satanists say we don't worship the idea of Satan, we kind of worship ourselves. They believe that Satan, or Lucifer, the light bearer, gave them the light of full enlightenment. So the idea of enlightenment came from this being that was given humans the godlike power. Now in the Christian tradition, you'd believe that godlikeness itself was breathed into you, into your nostrils by the person of God. But if you're outside of that tradition, these groups of people believe, like, use this narrative of something outside of God giving us godlike power. And that's the idea of Lucifer. So there are these groups that use the idea of light being given to man as a full enlightenment, and that man can create his own enlightenment. And where that takes hold is when people believe that they have been given the power to enlighten themselves. They started forming these groups, and the groups were early on the mystics. The Egyptians had their mystical schools, and they would take their trainees through these schools of enlightenment where they were given light and became like gods.
Okay, so are you now bringing the symbolism of the Illuminati?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So where it comes to talking about the Illuminati, what we're saying is that people have been enlightened as to godlike status, and all of these groups, that's what they have in common. They believe that their godlike status gets that from this Luciferian gift, not from a divine gift. It was babbling. Was it all right?
No, that was good. Yeah. Do you have like a final thought or?
My final thought is this. The Illuminati exists. It's not what we think it is. However, there are some nefarious ideas behind it, and they take their truth and their ultimate view of the world not from a deistic point of God, but from a point of man being God. The end.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Nick.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, dude.
Thank you. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
You'll
too.
never get that 20 minutes of your life back. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's cool, man. It's cool. Thank you for watching. This is Pickup Rides. That was the Illuminati, according to Nick. Give me a like, a comment, a subscription, a share. Appreciate your time watching. Thank you very much.